So, this has been going on for a very long time. This has been the loudest off-season, I think, imaginable. It's been one of the weirdest starts to a season because it's all been overshadowed by, certainly from a Welsh point of view, by the WU having this massive ongoing decision that began on the day of Eurovision with, like, literally, it wasn't announced, it came out. Steph Thomas from Wales Online leaked out they're going to cut a region during Eurovision Song Contest, which is honestly such a cruel thing to do. So I spent the second half of the results just being miserable and just being like, what's going to happen here? That then continued over the summer, and we heard two teams. We heard they're going to consider just getting rid of Welsh Rugby in general. There's going to be 4 teams. There's going to be 4 teams fairly different. There's going to be 3 teams. All of this was in place. W today come out and said their plan, which is to go down to 3 teams. Is the final decision in place?
And crucially, they're not committed to one team they're going to get rid of, or even who's staying.
It could be that they get rid of all 4 current teams.
Yes.
And create 3 new teams.
So what they've implied is they want a team based in the general Cardiff area.
Yeah.
We could agree that's sensible, right? Yeah. And then probably, not definitely, a region, or not a region, that's the wrong word, a team in the west and a team in the east, but it could be anything, could be any which way, it could be up north.
So the WU are not a sound organisation known for accurate details, right? Their press conference say their preference is 1 team in the east, 1 team in the west. Richard Collier-Keywood has said they will have 1 team in the west and 1 team in the east who's, Richard Collier-Keywood, notably independent chair of the WU, seems to do much more than that job title suggests, but there we go. He said there will be one of those teams and they will stick to that and they will have those as the licensed spots. I think they're just leaving it slightly open in case, say, the Dragons go under in the next year, right? In which case that decision made for them. Now, this is the critical thing, is this isn't coming in until 2028.
Yeah.
So the teams will remain at 4 until the end of the 2027-28 season. So 2 more full seasons beyond this one.
Yeah. And another reason, they're clearly keeping the cards very close to the chest on this, in terms of, as I say, the names of the new teams. They could be the same names that we've seen, minus, let's say, the Dragons or something like that.
Or the Scarlets or the Ospreys.
Yeah, indeed. But the other side to this, and this was the first thing I thought when I saw it, is they are holding out in case there's like some massive backer comes in and goes, I would do like a Ryan Reynolds Wrexham situation, right? If somebody comes in and goes, I'll fund a team, but it has to be in bloody like Bury Port or something, we will give you £6 trillion to fund this, and it will be have the best facilities of all time. You know, I think they're kind of holding out in case some weird anomaly like that happens as well.
Yeah, and Mike Cuddy comes back.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. And as I say, like North Wales is also an option, you know, that hasn't really been tapped in.
There's literally no mention of North Wales in any of the deals.
Yeah, so it's highly unlikely. But you know what I mean?
But it's possible.
Hypothetically, I think they're keeping the cards quite close to the chest and all that.
So, okay, there's a couple of big headlines here, right? We'll get on to the actual rugby side of this in a minute.
Yeah.
The main one is just that they're going down a team. They're going down an option here. And there's an enormous loss of jobs and enormous uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because the other side of this, I think the biggest side of this, is they've kicked the can down the road for another 2 years. They say they want to make a decision on who the 3 teams are going to be inside the next 12 months. But they wanted all of this sorted by June.
Yeah.
And here we are in October. And they've now got a decision, which is we're going to make a decision later.
Yeah.
So this has been the single most trying thing for my relationship with Welsh rugby, and in some ways rugby in general, this whole process. It has really tested and really stressed me out, and I've lost sleep over it. I've had nights where I'm kind of like, where you see a new room will come out, or you're kind of, you know, ending up peering over the same few websites and same few Twitter accounts that have got information coming and what have you. It's been miserable. Yeah. It's been miserable. And it has led to a great deal of people less interested in Welsh rugby. All 4 regions, attendances are down this season versus last year. And they're already down last year, considered, you know, especially where they were pre-COVID, but even the last few years. And so we're in this situation, right, where all this is done, all this consultation, this process is done, is drive people to being fed up and sick of this.
Yeah.
Like, they ultimately, right, yes, they've eventually made a decision, which is they're going to cut a region. there's still a chance that they back on that, right? Like a few months ago, we were saying it's definitely going to be. They were saying it's definitely going to be 2. Now they're saying it's definitely going to be 3. What are the chances in 2 years' time they go like, oh, actually, we'll just stick with 4 because we can't decide.
Yeah.
Like that is possible.
It is.
We're at one more region than we were
This is the
before.
WOU we're on about.
What
do
if-
not take anything as final.
Would you rule out in a few years' time they go, we're going to have 5 regions?
I wouldn't
adding
rule it
RGC.
out until about round 5 of the URC 2029.
Yeah.
Which is a year and a bit after
Yeah,
they
after we
claim
made that
this will
decision.
happen. When suddenly the Celtic Warriors turn up away against Munster, like, all right, lads, we're here for the game, you know? Like, with
They'll
the WOU,
suddenly
anything could happen.
announce their new plans after RGC beat Leinster.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they'll be like, wait a second, we're going to add RGC to the league. And like, what? You
Yeah.
did that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This is a organisation that has been consistently fairly shambolic in how it's made decisions.
Yes.
And there has been, look, an awful lot of upheaval. They had the situation with Dave Reddin where he didn't start till September. You had obviously Abby Tierney's diagnosis and that whole side with, and obviously,
It's horrible.
falls very much with her.
Yeah.
And with her family and everyone else. But there's been a lot of disruption here that's been beyond their control. But there's also been an awful lot within their control that's just been badly run.
Yeah.
The fact that they made that announcement of 2 teams before going out and consulting players, before going out and consulting fans, before going out and speaking to the regions, like notably, right, there are 160 odd players in Wales between the 4 regions. Only one of them said they supported and liked the two team model.
I wonder who it was.
I wonder this all the time. I wonder who it was and why was it Tame Plumtree? Tame Plumtree or Callum Sheedy would be my bet.
Oh, Sheedy's a shout.
Sheedy's got like prefect vibes.
Yeah. Or it's someone that we've barely heard of
Yeah.
who's like third choice.
Years gone by, it was Sam Warburton.
Yeah. That's
It was
true.
Sam Warburton back in the WU's decision.
Yeah, very fair.
But
Who's the biggest Sam Warburton super? Anyway, we'll do this another time.
yeah, we'll do this another time. I've been wondering it for many an hour.
Yeah,
It's probably
yeah,
like
yeah.
Sam Wainwright or someone
Sure,
anonymous.
sure.
But, so right. It's so easy to get lost in the middle of this and lost in the weeds of this because it's such a massive decision.
Yeah.
I obviously have always been pro 4 regions. The version I always gave as kind of like something had to change, right? Like nothing has been working in Welsh rugby.
There's not an
And
easy
yet-
way through this. That's the thing
Yeah.
that we can't be fooled by.
I think the problem is the enemy primarily is apathy.
Yes.
Like
I
you
agree.
can't afford to lose any more fans. And in cutting a region, you lose the 5,000 to 8,000 most dedicated fans, or of that group of most dedicated fans in Wales, right? Like there are like 30,000 people who turn up and watch the regions, like plus a bunch more watching on TV each weekend and love it and totally invested in the regions. They are the people that make the game the most in Wales, right? And you are cutting off a quarter of that group with whatever decision you make here. You've then probably got a bunch more who would support one or the other player on weekends or involved in the local club, whatever.
Yeah.
You're isolating a further group of that.
Yeah.
You're potentially cutting off a quarter of the fans in Wales here at a time in which the national team have just gone on a record losing streak, and yes, it's now over, but it's about to start again.
Both national teams have really struggled.
Both national teams have had
2025.
awful years.
Yeah, and beyond. And as I say, I think the first thing, again, with cutting a region that comes to mind is, you mentioned it earlier, people are losing their jobs here.
Yes.
People are losing livelihoods. That, for me, is, on a human level, is the worst bit of all of this. And look, it's obviously better than going down to 2, but I don't think anybody wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
Even the people who have signed this off, I don't think they wanted this to happen. As I say, there's not an easy way through this, and
You've
it's really
got
tough.
people who work in all the various jobs, backstage, logistics, marketing, whatever else,
Yeah.
who are going to lose their jobs, right?
Which is horrible.
But you've also got on top of that players who will never get a second opportunity.
Yeah.
You've got a quite substantial group of players who will be cut who won't see professional rugby again, right? If you made this call 2 years ago and you're cutting down to 3 teams, there are players who are now looking at knocking the door of Welsh squads who would have been cut and probably not picked up by another club if they weren't being the Pro Day done.
Yeah.
Like, who could now go on and play for Wales.
Yeah.
That is the strength of having 4 teams.
If you did that in
That is why-
COVID times, you're potentially cutting a Jack Morgan,
Yeah.
who is a British line, the British line that Wales has produced in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like, you cut the Ospreys, right? And Jack Morgan he was cut twice by the Scarlets. The Scarlets let go of his contract twice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he would be an engineer right now.
Yeah.
If you had one fewer region.
Yeah.
the whole thing is ridiculous. So, okay, it's worth getting into what the WU have said. There's a lot of details, there's a lot of bits. I don't want to be too in the weeds here.
Sure.
They have made the point the board decision was unanimous. One thing we haven't mentioned is there will be 2 elite women's teams coming into play.
Yeah.
So, no clarity on whether those, because the Challenge Cup teams and Brithon and Gwalia are referred to separately. So I don't know whether these are going to be separate to them.
Yeah.
Presumably these will be, as they were previously looking at, 2 franchises linked to the men's teams.
Yeah. That is the Thrive positivity here, is that the money that is freed up, unfortunately, because of a region going, can then be reinvested into the women's game.
Yeah.
And that is something that's needed because they've been drastically underfunded for forever, basically. There is a part of me that's sceptical when I hear about all of this, that the WAU isn't being entirely truthful in terms of how much they claim they're going to put into Gwalia and Brithon Thunder.
Yeah.
So yeah, for anyone unaware, Gwalia Lightning, Brithon Thunder, they're 2 teams who've played in the Celtic Challenge, which is like the old Magners League.
Yeah.
So it's them, they've got a couple of Irish teams, a couple of Scottish teams.
Glasgow and Edinburgh,
Yeah, who will play against each other in a kind of round robin, home and away, around Christmas time. So from sort of like end of November through to early February, they will play each other.
Quite a short and compact league.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk of trying to expand it, trying to build it out. The URC and PAS have talked about their interest in creating a women's league.
Yeah.
Zebre and Benetton have women's teams, who don't get much opportunity to play teams outside.
Both Brithon and Gwalia are quite middling in those. They will both pick up a couple of statement wins in a season. Well, they've only played 2 seasons so far, but typically they're not dominant, let's put it that way.
They are middling semi-pro teams, right? So the goal is to grow beyond that.
Yeah. And
there's no
signings.
specifics of fundings for the women's game, but they say they will create 2 elite teams and they want to attract big name signings and so on. They will basically, I think, want to bring most of the Welsh national team back from the PWR, and they want to try and bring over probably a handful of overseas signings.
Yeah. Which
in order to do that, they will need someone to be playing.
Yeah.
They will need someone to play against.
Yeah.
So whether that's an expanded Celtic Challenge, whether that is they manage to get the PWR, which has been hard going so far, the RFU aren't interested, right?
Yeah.
Especially them bringing in stricter laws on non-English qualified players playing in the league. We'll see. They do mention, though, in here, equal funding for the 3 men's teams.
Again,
So they'll be funded at the same level.
That's quite good as a starting point.
They then list the figure, right? So they'll be funded starting at, and I'm going to quote directly from the W press release, right? There'll be equal funding for the 3-team squads starting at 6.4 million and rising to 7.8 million per annum.
Okay.
Okay. I initially... Look, rising per annum is... It's badly worded. It sounds like they're going to increase it to the same amount every year.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It's a W press release. If there's only one thing that's badly worded and it doesn't lead you to thinking, what, they're going to buy out Glasgow?
Yeah, someone's getting arrested. What?
Yeah, then that's fine.
Okay.
So it's going to start at 6.4 million, rising to 7.8. That will still put them below in terms of squad spend.
Yeah.
Glasgow, Edinburgh, Ulster, Connacht, their initial budget will be about level with Connacht. They will end up, once that rises, above Connacht.
Right.
But below Ulster, Munster, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Benetton,
Right. Okay.
most teams in the URC, right? So it'll be a substantial rise on where the regions are at the minute, where they're currently about 4.5.
I'm sympathetic about this because the WAU only has so much money.
Yeah.
And you have to, and potentially this is very naive,
Yeah, well, this
you
is the
have
thing,
to
right?
trust that they're not spunking most of it up the wall. But potentially that's the bit that it will backfire.
Yeah.
But let's, for argument's sake, say they're not.
We can't come in and say, okay, they need to be funding all the teams more and they need to keep 4 regions.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. That isn't necessarily feasible.
Yeah.
So they're also going to free up an additional investment of 40 million across 5 years for Welsh Rugby, from the elite level to the pathways, which, again, you're a bit like, okay, where was all this money before? A lot of it, I think, being diverted from elsewhere in the kind of top level to go into the pathways. Looking at improved coaching and education, brilliant. Good luck doing that. We all want improved coaching, don't we?
Yeah.
Hopefully we're specifics down the line, because one of the big problems in Wales is it doesn't produce enough good coaches.
And that's it. It's getting the right people in charge.
For a long, long time. Right?
The right people who can develop these.
Yeah. And coach identification as well. I think there's a lot of like, oh, you're an ex-pro, you'll make a good coach going on.
The other thing about that as well is the people who are coach developers who can bring these on do not necessarily have to be Welsh.
Yeah.
That could be a big signing. The biggest signing that's happened in coach development was Mike Ruddock going over to Leinster, and him being the person who brought through a load of coaches in the Dublin area at mainly school and college level in Dublin. And suddenly you're looking at like St Michael's and Blackrock College and like all of these like really competitive Leinster Schools Cup teams or College Cup teams. And now we have this Leinster system that produces like endless like URC level players. And that is something that Wales doesn't have the luxury
Ruddock
of.
then went back to the Ospreys.
Yes.
And took on a similar job there.
Yeah.
And there has been an uptick in the young players that are producing.
Yeah.
Morgan
It's early
Moore,
days
Dan
though,
Ayres,
is the thing.
Kieran
So
Williams,
yeah.
you know.
He's a bit of a gem in this, Mike Ruddock, but because he's
now,
Welsh.
He's now retired. He's doing 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And playing in his pub band most of the rest of the week.
Yeah. And
It's worth
Leinster
looking close to his pub
have now got in Carlos Spencer to do that
Yeah.
in Dublin college and academy level. So,
Yeah.
you know, like stuff like this is possible if you look in the right places.
Within that, men's national academy have 2 regional training centres.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I made this point in the Leinster video last year, or we made this point rather. The Leinster system is not replicatable because there is no other like area that has the concentration of public schools and private schools that Leinster does, other than like in rugby cities, other than London and Paris.
Yeah.
And those have multiple clubs that are fighting for those.
And also like transport links and all that sort of stuff within Dublin. Like,
So it isn't possible in Wales. There are more private schools in Leinster than there are in Wales.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. Like, really, there's like 4 private schools with like proper rugby programs you can rely on. So you can't build the Leinster system. You have to build something else. So having 2 regional training centres, grand, right?
Yeah.
This was always part of their proposal. Clearly, they just carried that over. And if they can make something similar to the old National Academy, which is something that flew under the radar of all of this, was they had a central academy, then they got rid of it for money-saving purposes in order to spend more money on... Well, look, none of the WE high-ups in that period around like 2015-16 when they dismantled it, none of them took pay cuts when they lost some money. Instead, they dismantled the National Academy, the academy that produced Dan Bigger, Sam Warburton, Justin Tipperick, Lee Halfpenny, Jonathan Davis, Jamie Roberts. Like, you go on and on and on, like that whole great Welsh team.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone that came through before about 2018.
And retired in 2023, which is the position that Wales are in now at national level.
Critically,
national
right? Wales then won the Under-26 Nations in 2017.
Yeah.
Right? That was one year after they dismantled the academy. Yeah. Right? The Under-20s have then been on a downward slide ever since then.
And that 2016 Grand Slam team, for context, you've got in there Seb Davis, Adam Beard, Keelan Giles, Owen Watkin, who else am I missing? Jared Evans, Ruben Morgan Williams. Yeah, Reen Williams, who sadly had to retire early. Yep. Leon Brown, Dylan Lewis, Nicky Smith. Like, it's basically most of the good players who survived
half of Wales' current team. Yeah. Adam Beard. Just endless. So 2 replacement programmes there. 12 men's player development centres. Quite woolly on what those will be, but fine. 3 women's player development centres with 9 satellite locations. Again, just having like places where you can bring players in and grand. Okay. A women's national academy, which is positive, which has never existed before.
Yeah.
So someone that can actually bring through.
That's absolutely huge that exists. Because the main thing that's holding Welsh women's rugby back at the moment is participation.
Yeah.
It is getting people involved from a young age and nurturing that talent. And unfortunately, we're currently in positions where like a lot of senior women's teams in Wales have to travel 45 minutes to get to a game, and people don't want to do that. And that's fair enough. And so it is getting enough people playing that you can have at junior and senior level, have people who only have to travel down the road, and those teams have 15 players that they can raise on a weekend, and if you can get that, then I don't know, it's law of averages, isn't it? The more people you get playing, the more tickets you enter the lottery, the more likely you are to develop an Alex Callender, who is a world-class player who plays for Wales, who is sadly probably on her own in that kind of stake in international rugby.
Additional investment in Super Rugby Cymru and Celtic Challenge teams. Now, that is interesting because it implies they want the Celtic Challenge to be equivalent to Super Rugby Cymru, to be a semi-pro level below the level they intend to play at.
Yeah.
What that looks like, I don't know. Again, a lot of this feels like it was put together on the fly. I heard something completely different to all of these plans last night in terms of what they were going to do. So, who knows? An additional talent in Insight Management Department, which will manage the talent identification, recruitment, retention, and development of both men's and women's rugby, grand, whatever. A lot of those pathway changes, and a lot of the women's changes, I think are positive. And I think are good.
I agree.
And I think there is a legitimate question of what would add more value to Welsh rugby, to fully professional women's teams, and a women's national academy and a men's national academy. All of those 6 factors in together.
Yeah.
Or a Dragons team that continue being as bad as they are right now.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a question you can ask.
Yes.
I want there to be 4 regions.
I want there to be 4 regions. I do not want this to happen, what's happened there.
No.
Bear in mind as well, the caveat on that is it's not necessarily the Dragons.
That's it.
That's the assumption.
That's the other thing, right? Is then like, I would look at that debate and see kind of, look, I think it's vital for Wales, the men's team at least, that you have 4 regions there. I think it's vital for rugby in Wales in general that you have places across the nation. I think one of the biggest failures in WA over the last 30 years is not including North Wales at all.
Yeah.
And allowing that to become completely and it always lent football, right? But like, they just gave up.
Yeah.
And there was no attempt to build, other than putting the under-20s game there, no attempt to build Welsh rugby in the north.
Not to pivot back to this, but if you look at the women's programme, which is run differently, in the last 3 years has produced the Metcalfe sisters and the Pearce sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, Gwenllian Pearce has been playing for Wales for a long time, but you know what I mean? Like, they are actually developing players because they have a different
Wales.
system,
Yeah.
and it is like weighted like the same for equally throughout Wales.
Well, like,
so there is potential there to unearth talent.
how many North Walians have played for Wales in the last few years? Sam Wainwright, George North
back in day.
and James King?
Yeah.
Ollie Cracknell hasn't won a cap, but like is obviously playing, good rugby in the Premiership.
Yeah.
Like,
There's not many.
that's
There's not
about
many.
it.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of proper gogs that have gone on to play for Wales.
Yeah, there will be more in the women's team than there are in the men's team by a stretch.
You've got 4 in the men's team, and I'm probably missing 1 or 2. But
Yeah, and I'm definitely missing a load more in the women's team who have come through in the last
Yeah, oh, definitely. There's loads.
5-10 years, yeah.
So look, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of it will depend on who the teams are.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I stand by this, that I want 4 regions.
Yeah.
And I think the way forward, I've always said this, right? I think the way forward is you fund one team to like a Leinster-style, bigger nation, like super club kind of level.
Probably Cardiff. Yeah.
Because it makes sense. They've got the most resources. They're most like...
Got 2 unis, it's capital city.
It's almost certainly Cardiff.
Yeah.
Unless you have like, the Ospreys or Scarlets go on a great run and like win the league, in which case you go like, fine, you fill that spot.
Scarlets is an interesting one as well because you look at like Bromerthin School, who has developed.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of those schools around there.
Yeah, an insane number of Welsh internationals. You look like Rhys Priestland, Ken Owens. I think Gareth Davis went there. There's like tons of them. Most of the Scarlets internationals who've like played for Wales in the last 15 years have gone to the same school. Like Ryan Elias went there. There's loads of them. So there's potential for that area as well. Like but you could argue this for any area in Wales, couldn't you? Like they've all got something going their way.
So you fund Cardiff probably as the super club.
Yeah.
You fund Ospreys and Scarlets to 11, which they'll be competitive with Glasgow, Ulster, etc. In which they don't, if they have 2 injuries as happened to the Ospreys at the weekend, you've got to dip down into semi-pro players.
Yeah.
In which you've just got like a big enough squad of like 40-odd players that can compete.
Yeah.
And then you use most likely the Dragons, but one team as a development team, and you give them a lower level of funding, a smaller squad, but you work out some sort of deal. We have some like centralised, like get the head coach involved of like under 23 players who aren't getting much game time, who you want to give more game time to. So you get someone like a Cam Jones, who's 4th choice prop at the Ospreys, but like looks useful. He would get more game time at the Dragons, so you give him the odd game on loan there.
Yeah. With the odd older established leader, like Harry Keddy and Seb Davis, who the Dragons have at the moment.
Al Wainwright wants to stay living in Newport.
Sure.
Good on him. Someone's got to. And you have the odd player like that, right? Like Jacob Beetham isn't getting that much game time because you got Cam Winnett and Beetham, they're both, each of them.
Or vice versa.
And they're probably the 2 best young fullbacks in Wales, right? So you send one of them off the Dragons, you keep one there, so they're both starting most weekends. You look at some loan deal, like to corroborate there. That would have been my suggestion. That was always my pitch.
I think I'd agree with you on that.
As it is, they're just going to cut one region, and I worry about the long-term damage this can do. I worry about the kids that will never pick up a ball because they're never taken along by their dad on a Saturday or their mum on a Saturday to go and watch their team. This is men's and women's players. You talk about how like Fionn Lewis is one example just because we've spoken to her and she had this conversation with us, right? Is like she took up playing rugby because she went on to watch the Scarlets every weekend.
Yeah.
Like this has impact on both sides of the game.
Yeah.
It isn't just like, you're not just...
Again, participation is the important bit of women's rugby. And you're potentially alienating a
Yeah,
quarter of the audience by getting rid of one of those 4 regions. So there's a real scare of that.
You look at the uncapped players in the Welsh squad this year, right? Morgan Morse and James Fender both grew up going to Ospreys games every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be true of everyone across the board. Like, Max Page was a big Scarlets fan, was in the squad in the summer. Like, this is true across the world, right? There's a generation of people who, Morgan Morse is younger than the Ospreys. Like, we are part of the first generation who didn't really know the time before it. Yeah. And so you're disenfranchising people. We can go in circles on this, and I fear we have.
Yeah.
Because obviously a motive issue, you can tell I'm wearing, regional merch. There's been a statement by Cardiff Rugby in the last few minutes.
Okay.
Basically, Cardiff Rugby would like to make it clear, I'm going to sum this up. This comes from independent chair Scott Waddington, interim managing director Jamie Murr, coach Cornel Van Zyl, who is he's just decided he's head coach, by the way, over the last few weeks.
Sure.
Like Matt Sherritt went, and he was like,
off,
no,
King.
I'm the head coach. And no, I was like, hold on, wasn't Geffing it? No. And player representative Josh McNally.
Okay.
And head of recruitment Darren Allinson. There's a number I haven't heard in a long time.
Good player.
Met with Malcolm Wall and Dave Reddin this morning to be said of their plans and have been reassured that one of the 3 teams will be in Cardiff. Yeah. Basically, the rest of the team was like, we don't give a shit because Cardiff's staying. We're relieved and encouraged by this as a club. We're confident in our position and viability. And sole focus remains steadfast on ensuring Cardiff Rugby remains at the Arms Park as Cardiff Rugby. This is an important thing, right? So we kind of touched on this but didn't go into it. The free franchise spots available, the free licenses, as colleague Keywood keeps referring to them, are open to everyone.
Yeah.
So a new club can come in. They've said there's a good chance they may have a brand new club. They want a merger. Ideally, I think what they want is the Ospreys and Scarlets to merge. Everything I've heard is that has come off the table repeatedly.
It's not going to happen.
That has been like something that was mooted and then has fallen through time after time after time. And so the license spots are open to anyone. So if, say, the Scarlets get the West Wales license spot,
sure,
the Ospreys could bid to be the Cardiff team. And they could move to play in Cardiff.
Okay.
Or, potentially, they could even be like, now we're just pranked, we're just going to play in Swansea.
Yeah.
Or the Dragons could go, we're going to move to Cardiff City Stadium and become the Cardiff Dragons.
Yeah.
All of those are options.
It's all a clean slate, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a weird thought.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, though. It's just a shame that one of them has to go. Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
The Dragons are going to be releasing a statement as we record this in a few minutes' time.
Okay.
So we'll find out what else happens. I would be surprised if the Scarlets and Ospreys don't make statements by this time tomorrow.
All follow suit, aren't they?
So we'll see what happens. It's all been a lot. We've just kind of like reacted to this news, I guess, and tried to talk it through. Yeah. Because there's an awful lot happening. It's very hard to keep track of. I wish this wasn't taking place. I felt kind of bereft at first. Largely because I assumed, myself as an Ospreys fan, they will be the team to go. Because when you hear one team in the West, one team in the East, you go, well, that's the Scarlets.
Yeah, you're under threat at that point, naturally, aren't you? It's crazy because, there are parts of this that I hear, a lot of the stuff about the women's game and so on, that I listen to and go, okay, I can see a positive in that. As a Wales fan, my dream is to watch Wales lift the Rugby World Cup. Yeah. Whether that's the men's one or the women's one, I do not give a shit. Equally, I want one of them to lift the Rugby World Cup. We're a long way off that happening for either of them at the moment. And so there's parts of that I look at and go okay, we're a bit more likely for that to happen when that happens, but the margin for error is monumental.
Genuinely, if they get this wrong, and I think going down to 2 teams would have been suicidal.
It would have,
But they can do generational damage that lasts 70 years.
Yeah, they could. And that's it. If everything goes right, then obviously it's still bad because you're losing a team, you're losing people's jobs, all of this, that and the other.
Entirely possible that Welsh Rugby is dead in the water as a result of these changes. Yeah. It's also possible that it does work as they're hoping. Yeah,
that's it. And
I can see 3 teams working exponentially better than 2 teams.
Yes, 100%. Because
and I can see a world in which it works better than 4 teams, right? And the current situation isn't working because all the teams are being underfunded. But a lot of that comes back to W mismanagement over the last few decades.
You get the theory behind it, and they've clearly they've mentioned in their statement that they've searched into population dynamics, so throughout the nation, and how many registered rugby players there are at amateur level, and all this, that, and the other. And I believe them that they have taken a lot of time to research these things. But at the same time, like, as I say, I can see the theory behind why they're trying to do this. But again, it's cost a lot of people their jobs and livelihoods and the team to support, and could alienate a lot of people from enjoying Welsh rugby in the way that they maybe do at the moment, even though they're terrible. And yet, if everything goes wrong, it will be generational, as you say.
I know for a fact 3 of the 4 regions have missed out on signings over the last few months because of this uncertainty.
Yeah.
And we've had stories of the last week of Jack Morgan going to look round Saracens, or Derry Lake's been to look round Gloucester. These are happening, right? And look, these visits happen all the time. If security comes in, I would not be overly worried. But equally, if you're Jack Morgan, you're a British and Irish Lion, and you have your boyhood club who you love and you grew up supporting with all your friends there, you're told you're going under inside 2 years, but this other club in London offering to pay you more to be part of a team they're putting together to try and win the European Cup. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. And then you can go back again if your club still survives.
Yeah.
You can go back again there in 2029.
Yeah.
It's going to be costly.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything's up in the air. We've just been around the houses an awful lot. I feel like we'll probably do something when we've had more time to process this, maybe down the line next week or something.
Yeah.
I think Tom Shanklin made a very good point, which is why would you announce this now rather than say we're going to keep with 4 teams until 2028 and then reassess?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a very fair point, because all you're doing now is kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And like, clearly, right, and this is the thing that really gets me, and I meant to lead on this at the start, but we got so caught up in this. The insidious part of this is they're clearly hoping one of the businesses goes under in the next 3 years.
That is it.
They are waiting for Dragon Scarlets or Ospreys, their owners to pull out, or their business to fade, or something or other to happen, and the whole thing to fall apart.
Or for 2 major, like, multi-million odd pound backers to come in and say, yeah, we'll have these 2, so they can go, brilliant, you're off your fuck then, to the other one, you know?
Yeah.
Like, those are the 2 possibilities. One of them either goes out or doesn't get the prize money at the end of it.
Is the WU want total rugby control rather than the backers. So the owners would have to surrender basically control of rugby side to the WU in order to be accepted.
Right, yeah.
Which is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
I wonder how Hassel Luxury are taking this.
I wonder if they still exist.
Yeah. David Moffat's left.
Yeah.
It's all happening. Welsh rugby.
Welsh rugby.
You know rugby's supposed to be a hobby and hobby's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever have fun? When was the last time you had fun with Welsh rugby?
Jack was good on the Lions tour, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that wasn't Wales, was it?
Exactly.
That wasn't Welsh rugby.
I rest my case.